Happy Friday. There's another Mavens of Manufacturing Day, and I'm super excited because normally I have women on Mavens of Manufacturing. I've interviewed a couple gentlemen here and there, but I love interviewing guys who are allies to women, and Dave is one of those allies for us, and I really appreciate him taking time today. So what is our topic today? We are talking about women's PPE, but more specifically, we are going to be talking about a new organization called AWSAM. So Dave, hello, and thank you for joining Mavens. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so first off, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and like what company you work for?
Sure. I'm the national sales manager for a manufacturer of high visibility called Utility ProWear.
Okay.
We've been in business for a little over 20 years, and about 15 years ago, we added four pieces of apparel designed for women. That came about because we met some people at a trade show, women who work for Harley Davidson in their factory.
Mm-hmm.
And they told us about how they had to wear male PPE. It didn't fit, and it actually was dangerous while bikes came across the production line. And one woman, in fact, said, I'd rather be in black in the dark. I would feel safer than wearing the wrong size PPE and having to get caught up in the equipment. So that kind of like popped the light bulb in our head. And we got started 15 years ago with a few pieces, and now we've expanded up to 9 total pieces for women, with more on the drawing board.
That's really cool. So while working in this industry before having that experience, was that something you ever thought of, like proper fit for women?
No, I didn't. I confess that I didn't. It's an old phrase, and it's a crappy phrase that women don't like to hear, but it's a man's world, in a lot of ways, and especially in the trades and associated fields like manufacturing and whatnot. Until recently, the trend was, 95% male and a smattering of unusual women. I'll use that term. Of how people perceive it, as being unusual. But over the last 10 years, there's been, year over year growth of women in all these fields, whether it's building trades or in manufacturing, all jobs that used to be dominated by men, that right. Women are getting way more involved in. And while the total number still is small in comparison to the male number, it's growing, and it seems that more women are filling the empty positions than men are as the years go by, which only leads to the idea that eventually women are going to play a really big role in a lot of these fields. And so, it's an emerging marketplace from a commerce point of view, and it's an emerging and changing marketplace from the equipment point of view, meaning what's out there for women. Does it fit? Doesn't it? Is it safe? Is it certified? And all those other things that you get involved in when you make PPE.
Right. So I really haven't noticed any conversations around PPE until fairly recently. I want to say maybe starting 3 years ago, I started hearing women's PPE a lot more. And I know a couple companies, one of which is Xena Workwear, and they kind of do more like fashionable shoe wear. So like any executive level woman, well, it can be basically anyone, but I think her main goal was, she was in a leadership role, and sometimes she had to go on the shop floor and then had to switch out her heels to put on steel toe boots or other shoes that were safety certified for the shop floor. So she wanted to make something that was a little more fashionable so that women wouldn't have to change their shoes. But it's more than just shoes. Like there's a lot more apparel out there, and women have been in, yes, our numbers have been low, but we've been in this industry for a really long time. So why do you think we're so slow? Because you mentioned a couple things about some of the challenges for companies to hold certain types of apparel, especially for women. Like there really isn't a high demand for it, like there wasn't. Hopefully that's changing. But what are some of the things that are challenging for companies that want to support women's PPE, like, but really have to like what, how do I'm stumbling over my words. I'm trying to find the right way to ask this question, but like, you mentioned like there's a cost to having it in inventory. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. So I can pick that up for you from there. So you have a
Like,
couple of you have a couple of things going on. One, you have the safety business as a whole has undergone a lot of consolidation. There are major
okay.
international, multinational distributors, a Grainger or a Fastenal, et cetera. And I'm not singling them out, but they're just names people know.
Mm-hmm.
And they can dominate the landscape, them and several others. The privately held Joe's Contractor Supply is still out there, but they're dwindling in numbers. So you have
Okay.
consolidation there. You have consolidation on the manufacturing side, where there are companies like PIP and others that offer a wide variety of PPE, from high-vis apparel, eyewear,
Mm-hmm.
ears, head, footwear, etc. They're like a one-stop shop. So what happens is, in the supply chain, think of it this way: you're a construction company, you got 50 people in your crews total, and you have 4 women. You have a contract to buy your stuff through, we'll just say Grainger, okay? And the buyer for the construction company is incented to make sure he goes through Grainger. Well, he has 4 women that he has to outfit. And I'm not saying this is true about Grainger. I don't want to, put any
Right. You're just using it as an
I'm
example.
using it as a hypothetical. They go to Grainger, and Grainger says, I have a small male vest, and that's what I got for women. And the buyer buys it because he doesn't want to go outside the loop, because he's incented to reduce costs for his company. And the more he buys from Grainger, the better the payback is at the end of the contract.
Right.
It's usually how it goes. So the woman ends up with PPE that's really cut for a male, no matter what the size is, not for a woman. And she has to live with this. Or she goes and buys it on her own, tries to get her company to pick up the expense, which can be successful, but not always. So you have a gap there with that. So and on top of that, the reason why somebody like these larger distributors don't carry it is, you look at them, some of them are publicly traded. They have shareholder responsibility. So every single bean counts according to the bean counters. So you have 13 million men in the trades. You have 1.5 million women in the trades. Who are you going to invest your inventory dollars in? You're going to invest it in the men. Okay. And you're going to leave the woman kind of outside that circle, kind of fending for herself. So this makes it difficult for being aware that there's female PPE and having access to that same female PPE. Now, I'm sure there are companies that are doing it the right way, but if everyone was doing it the right way, I wouldn't be here with you today to talk about this group that we're involved in. Okay. Let's be real. So, it's a problem that we're trying to solve.
So let's talk about it. And I want to clear up a misconception too, because I feel like when people think of like women fit, they automatically go, oh, well, they want it like tighter and sexier and all this other stuff. And that's not what that means. Like, we just want the right appropriate fit for our statures so that we can work more safely and efficiently in the fields that we're in. So I want to get that like misconception, because it doesn't necessarily mean tight fitting clothes.
No. It's proper fitting, and what does that mean? Well, women as a gender have narrower shoulders than men overall. Not every single woman does, but as a gender generally, women have narrower shoulders. They have chests that are bigger than men's, and they have narrower hips and narrower waist and wider hips. That's just on apparel. They're also in footwear. Their ankle is different in terms of its size and positioning. And I'm not totally familiar with everything about footwear, but there are major differences, not only in the overall size and width of a woman's foot, but in the instep and the ankle and how that all works together. I mean, I don't know how ladies wear high heels in the first place, but, a man could not get into one of those, period, end of story. So there are physiological differences that there have been some reports done, white papers, one recently done by ASSP, that discuss the major differences between it. So folks like myself and others who make apparel or other PPE for women take this into account. This isn't about sexy. This is about proper fit.
Right. And I think another interesting thing that we touched on in our previous conversation, which I totally went over my head, is there's women out there that still work when they're pregnant, well up to 8 months. I worked when I was well up to 8 months. So now there's companies that are really thinking about a maternity line for some of these women who might be in construction or they do welding or something. So I think that's really cool and interesting that they're thinking of all aspects. So the Homesteading Avenger, which I think is a really cool name, said, "Yeah, I made it, Steve R." So thank you for joining us. If you are joining us live, please feel free to drop some comments or questions in the comments below, and we'll get to those. But I want to talk about AWSAM. So what does AWSAM stand for, and what was sort of the how did this start? When did the conversation start about this organization, and what was the main inspiration behind it?
Okay, the name stands for the Alliance for Women's Safety Apparel Manufacturers. And about, almost 2 years ago now, it was kind of the tail end of COVID where people are doing a lot of at-home work and more Zoom meetings than anything else. And I struck up a friendship with Kelly Franco from Serafina Safety Apparel. Kelly makes FR base clothing and undergarments for women. Kelly and I were talking about some of the frustrations for women and for the manufacturers that are out there. There are more specialty manufacturers out there than people were and are aware of. And we came to a conclusion that a rising tide can lift all boats. In other words, grouping many of us together who all have this passion, for lack of a better term, for the issues surrounding this and for the products they make, could help to bring awareness about us as companies, awareness about the issues around it, and access to product, access to companies, and access to further information about advancements in PPE products, et cetera. And so we decided to form this group. We met for the first time in person before ASSP last year. And we sat down with a few other manufacturers, namely Melanie Adams from Emher, which makes FR clothing for women, and Anna Kraft from Xena Workwear. And within about 20 minutes of that meeting, we all decided we needed to form a group, a nonprofit trade group that could advance our individual causes and the causes in the industry as a whole. And we were struggling with the name. And then Emily Solaby from Juno Jones Shoes, her husband came up with the name, and he came up with it in like 2 seconds. All of us were stuck on how do we get PPE into the name and whatnot. And he came up with this name in like 5 minutes. We're like, that's it. We got it. We have a catchy, acronym, and let's go with it. So we got started last year, basically birthed kind of at ASSP last year.
That's such a wonderful story. And I'm really, I think it's really cool and refreshing to know that it was a guy that helped brainstorm the idea. So why is it important for you and other like guys in the industry to really be a part of something like this? Because
Well,
I know there's like kind of some division going on in the world today, and I just don't think it's like necessary. So I really like highlighting men like yourself who are allies for us to like come more and be more comfortable in industries like this. So why is it important for you personally?
well, to me, it's a matter of equity. Okay, it's
Mhm.
really simple. Okay, if you um, if you gender is obviously playing a role in this because there is a gender that is not being served as well. But I look at
Right.
it as like we're all humans in this thing, and if we're in this, if you're in this field, you have the right to be outfitted properly to do what can be a dangerous job in adverse
Mhm.
conditions and do it protected properly. Simple. End of story. That's all it comes down to, in my view. Okay, that's what it's there for. And so I boil it down to that as a male coming to it. That's how I look at it. I'm not the aggrieved party, so those some of my compatriots in the group probably and definitely have stronger feelings than I do about bias and things like that because they probably experienced it. Okay.
Mhm.
I haven't in this realm. But having said that, to me, there's no place for it here. There's no place for inequity because we're depending on people to do important jobs, from public service jobs like police and fire. The men and women who pave the roads and dig up the road. You can go on and on with these jobs. Okay, bus drivers. I mean, a million people wear PPE of some kind or another,
Right.
male and female. So they got a right to feel safe. We're
Right.
asking them to do jobs that can put them in harm's way. So
Right.
let's make it fair. It's simple to me.
So Lauren just checked out Seraphin
Serafina
Safety.
safety.
There
Yeah.
we go. It's like I can't read that. It's all. I had no idea how awesome, pun intended. Thank you, Lauren, for tuning in. But yeah, there is a lot of cool brands out there that I didn't even know existed. So when I was posting one of the posts for the actual debut event for AWSAM, you guys listed a bunch of brands that are like going to be supporting that event. So let's talk about this event. It's called Whiskeys and Women's PPE, which I personally love that name because I'm a huge whiskey fan. So how did you guys decide on the location? Because it's in Denver, Colorado. Like what can attendees expect when they attend this event?
Okay. It became whiskey and women's PPE because last year Kelly, myself, and Anna did it as three separate entities, just as a way to get some exposure offsite at ASSP.
Okay.
We all participated in last year's fashion show. We weren't awesome yet. We all participated in the ASSP, fashion runway event last year, and we
Mhm.
printed postcards, put them on the chairs, and the vast majority of the people that came had been supporters of the WISE group at ASSP, which is Women in Safety Excellence, who've been
Okay.
big supporters of us. And so that it started last year that way, and it was a social event, but we got to introduce ourselves personally to a lot of people who may not have known about us. And we wanted to go back to ASSP this year for our official launch because last year was so much fun and successful. And now we're going as the group, AWSAM. And the event is going to be on the 8th at 6:30 at the Lookout restaurant. And anybody can go to my LinkedIn page. You can see it. You can go to the AWSAM LinkedIn page and see the invite. Megan has put it up a couple of times about it. Megan is our media sponsor for the event, which we're greatly appreciative of. It's food and drink. There'll be special whiskey signature drinks available. You'll get a drink ticket, and you can have a cocktail, and then it's open bar after that. There'll be plenty of finger foods for everybody to enjoy, and you'll get to meet many of the members of AWSAM who'll be there and start to network and make further business connections. A lot of safety professionals come. Buyers, all kinds of professionals in the building trades. So we're really looking forward to having a good time.
Are you going to have any like tables set up with some of the brands, and are they going to bring
No,
some of the
we decided not to. We'll have
no?
tables for the sponsors, um,
Okay.
and some sponsors will be there with their guests. And so if they're going to show anything, they're more than welcome. This is going to be more about learning about us. We'll have some literature there, and you'll get to talk to us about what we plan to do as a group. You know, we're built on these three ideas of awareness, access, awareness, and advocacy. And the last piece I hadn't really talked about of advocacy is we hope to get involved over time in partnerships with other organizations that are of a like mind to improve the lot of women and their need for PPE. And that could be getting involved with organizations that teach young women about getting involved in these skills and trades. It could be about helping to finance a study and a survey, that kind of a thing. We were involved in the My Body, My PPE campaign a couple of months ago, and which will have a paper out in a month or two, and with results. So we hope to get to a point where we're doling out funds to help other people in their quest to further the cause.
I can already name off a bunch of organizations that I think would be more than happy to partner with you guys, like WIM, Women in Manufacturing, AMT, the Association for Manufacturing Technology. They do IMTS in Chicago. Any organizations that attend Fab Tech, like there's so many trade shows and organizations out there that I think you guys could partner with and do something fun as an event, because PPE is such like a key word now. Like everybody's talking about it and wanting to know. And Tim got on here and he said, thank you for putting this episode together. As a machine shop owner with two little girls, it has opened my eyes a bit. And there's a group of girls, two girls that go by the hashtag Junior Board of Directors, and they are doing welding with their dad. And I sent them some welding jackets, and their dad actually sent me some links to some of the welding platforms out there where you can buy welding clothing on. And I couldn't believe like how hard it was to find gloves and jackets for women in welding. Like there's not very many options out there. So hopefully we can increase those options and then get other women excited about joining those trades. So you did mention a show and you're using the acronym for it. And I don't want to mess up the acronym, but what show did you guys originally meet at and then go to all the time?
It stands for the American Society of Safety Professionals.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that anybody who's watching that knows about that show, because I think, again, going to these types of shows is really educational and they can get some resources. So, you know, when it comes to companies who might be struggling supporting women within their facilities and providing them PPE, do you have any like resources other than your organization? Like how can they get started in helping support the women employees and getting them connected with the right apparel for their jobs?
Well, there's a few things that can be done, like within the Society of Safety Professionals. Like I mentioned, there's a subgroup called WISE, which is Women in Safety Excellence. They have a library, I guess you'd say, of information available. And because they're safety professionals, most of them are OSHA certified, to all kinds of levels regarding safety, who probably either work as independent consultants or work directly for a manufacturing outfit of some kind. So they are in charge of making sure everybody's safe. So that organization could go a long way to anybody who's starting. Secondly, I would say any organization that is thinking about this, I would just say the return, there's an investment you have to make in a sense, to create the proper access to PPE for the female staff who need it in your organization. But in the end, the return on investment is strong. And I'll give you an example. So when people find something, and I'll talk about it in everyday life. Okay. So I'm like 6 foot, almost 4. Okay. I'm tall. And for a long time, I used to struggle finding clothes that just fit my body frame right. Right. So then when I found something I like, I bought 5 of them. Okay. I just wasn't going to go with one and then worry that they didn't have it. I bought 5 of them, hopefully in different colors, but I bought 5 of them because it fit right. Well, women are kind of like that with PPE. When they find something, they're incredibly loyal to the brand and they tell everybody they know about it. Okay. And I could say that I could say that feeling would transfer from a woman to the company she works with, and she'll feel better about working for that company and be more loyal to it if that company took that, we'll call it extra step, but should be the normal step, to make sure that they're outfitted properly. So there is a return on that investment in terms of the employee feeling like this is a place I can work at. You know, it's that confidence part and that well-being part of being safe and working safe. You know, it's the old, you know, in sports, if you look, you know, when I played baseball, you know, I made a big deal about putting my uniform on. I had to look a certain way. And the old saying was, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. Well, in PPE, forget the look good, but if it fits good, you feel good, you have confidence, you work better, and you work without thinking about your clothing or whatever your piece is. Okay, you know, I always say, and I know I'm going on here a little bit, but think about it this way: you're in your everyday clothes. You're not pulling and tugging at it and readjusting it. You're just wearing it. Okay. Nobody wants to do that with any part of PPE, whether it's earplugs or fixing the safety glasses. You want to wear it and forget it. And once you get to that point and you find something like that, then you just do your job. And that's what you're supposed to do. Men don't have that problem. They don't.
No, because they have the available sizes. Are you going to do anything with like schools that are offering courses within certain fields? So like, are you going to maybe partner with schools? Is that something?
We are basically in our embryonic stages, and all those things are on the table. It's really going to be a question of how we grow in terms of membership and the funds that we have available to get involved, and where to get involved and how to get involved. But all those things are on the table because you have to look at it as you have our present issues, and then you have future things that can help, get rid of those present issues down the line, and take them out of the picture. So all those things are on the table for us. It's really just a question of us and our membership getting our arms around everything.
Right. Well, I'm super excited for your organization because I feel like it has a bright future, because I haven't seen or heard any other type of organization like this, and the name is just awesome. Like it's very easy to remember. It works. It works so amazingly. So, Dave, this has been a really fun conversation, and I really appreciate you taking time and being an ally for women in spaces like the trades and engineering and manufacturing. So I want to give you a chance to ask our audience a question. So if you had one question for our audience tuning in, what would that question be for them?
I guess the question would be, what do you do presently to take care of your female employees and their PPE? How do you do it?
I love that. And if you don't have an idea, reach out to Dave.
Right. Or at AWSAM and reach out to us. But find us on LinkedIn. You can find me as well on LinkedIn, and AWSAM is a group. We're there, AWSAM. So, but we want to know more about. That's part of what came up in that My Body, My PPE campaign. Those questions were part of it, and we're going to get some results. We had over 500 respondents. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's a really good response. So it tells me that there's a lot churning out there that has to be dealt with.
And there's definitely a need for it. So to anyone who's tuning in, make sure that you reach out to Dave and connect with them. I know currently right now your website is having a little bit of issues. So just be patient with them because they're working on that right now. But be sure to check out all of their posts, follow them on LinkedIn. I will be posting a few more times about the Whiskey and Women in PPE event. I'm super sad that I cannot attend this year. So
We
hopefully
wish
you guys,
could, yeah.
and Denver is such a beautiful place. And what a great place to just have a glass of whiskey. So
Yeah.
I hopefully next year you repeat the same event and I can come next year and put it in my calendar. So, but yeah, Dave, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you want to touch on that you think we missed?
No, there's a lot of great members of the group covering a lot of different aspects of PPE. It's not just high vis, there's footwear, there's eyewear, there's gloves, there's FR garments, both base layer and outer layers. We have a wide variety of PPE, and we're looking for more like-minded individuals to join us, support us, be involved with us in any way possible. AWSAM.org is the website. It'll be back up and running in a day or two. If not, you can certainly visit our LinkedIn page and start making contact with us there, and we can certainly talk to you. So I'm very thankful, Megan, for the opportunity. It's been great. And again, I'll point out to everybody, Megan's Mavens of Manufacturing is our media sponsor this year, and we're thrilled about that. And I hope that next year, Megan, you can join us in Orlando, and we can actually have a whiskey together.
Me too. And I'm going to continue following you guys and promoting you as much as possible because I just think what you're doing is great. And I will continue connecting you with people too. But I definitely think like if people are listening in, if you're part of WIM, if you're part of any MEP in the United States, connect with AWSAM because they're doing great things and we can start helping companies, support women in their fields, in their jobs with the right fit clothing. So thank you so much, Dave. I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe weekend, and I'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone. This episode of Mavens has been sponsored by Fresh Horizons Group. Fresh Horizons Group is a family-run company that was founded on the premise of helping organizations and businesses better tell their story through high-quality branded apparel and promotional items. Freshen up your brand by contacting Fresh Horizons today at freshhorizonsgroup.com.